Roadman, driving in the road van, not driving, I'm home. I didn't drive in the road van. I was a passenger in somebody's vehicle today as I went to the Ohio State playoff game in Columbus against Tennessee. First ever playoff game at the Ohio State. First ever December game at the Shoe in Columbus. And wow, I didn't see that coming. I picked Ohio State to win the game over Tennessee, but I thought it would be a 1 or a 2 score game, not 42-17. A tip of the cap to Ryan Day, a tip of the cap to Jim Knowles, a tip of the cap to Chip Kelly, a tip of the cap to Will Howard and the entire Buckeyes team and football program for kicking ass, dominating, opening up a can of whoop ass, destroying the Tennessee Volunteers. 42-17 was the final today. And they did it every way you can imagine. They did it throwing the football. They did it running the football. They did it up front with the offensive line. They did it up front with the defensive line, the linebackers. The only thing that was bad was the field goal attempt by Fielding, which was an absolute joke. Other than that, it was just a complete all-around victory for Ohio State, and they advance now to the second round of the college football playoff, and they will take on the number 1 seeded Oregon Ducks. It's a rematch from a game earlier this year in Oregon in which the Buckeyes came up a point short, losing to Oregon 32-31. So on January 1st, the Rose Bowl at 5 o'clock, Pasadena, California, Ohio State and Oregon. So the two Big Ten teams, and I guess the way you could look at it, they're two Big Ten teams, but one is a former Pac-10 or Pac-12, whatever it was, and the Buckeyes, Oregon and the Buckeyes playing each other. So they're Big Ten teams now, but this is the old school for all those old school guys that wanted a Rose Bowl matchup from years gone by. Well, you're getting it. And the Buckeyes deserve to be there. They played their best game of the season coming off that embarrassing, and it was, that embarrassing loss to Michigan, 13-10 in Columbus. And we talked about this on the Kenny and JT show on News Talk 1480 WHBC. You can listen Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. Ask any one of your smart devices to play it, and you can listen just like we're on the radio, right? 13-10 at home. And if you would have lost to Tennessee in a playoff game at home, Ryan Day might have been fired by now had they lost this game today. Well, he's keeping his job, and like I said, tip of the cap to Ryan for getting his team prepared and ready. They dominated. It was like varsity against the JV today. That's how dominant this was by Ohio State. I'm looking at Will Howard's numbers. 24 of 29, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he ran for 37 more yards. His best game, in my opinion, as a Buckeye, coming off a horrible game against Michigan. I've questioned him. I needed to see him step up in a big game, none bigger than this, because it's win and move on, lose, and your season and your college career is done. Well, he gets to play another game. So great job by Will Howard today. How about Trevion Henderson? 80 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, 54 more yards catching the ball out of the backfield, over 130 yards of total offense for Trevion Henderson. Quinshon Judkins only rushed for 34 yards, but had 2 scores on the ground, power runs. And the best player on the Ohio State football team all year, today, this season, however you want to say it. I'm looking at his numbers here. Let me get them correct. Jeremiah Smith, 6 for 103 and 2 touchdowns. He drew at least 1, if not 2 pass interference penalties. Should have been a third one when he got interfered with on the lone interception, but they didn't call it. Jeremiah Smith, the best player on the Buckeyes team. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I said to my buddy Josh Paloha, I went as a fan / working member of the media today. I didn't sit up in the press box. I bought tickets. Couldn't get the press passes, so bought tickets or a ticket for myself and went and I watched it. I enjoyed it, but also was taking mental notes to do this riding with the roadman. And I said before the game to my buddy Josh Paloha, I said, I need to see JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer both play a good game together. And boy, did they ever. JT with 8 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, and 2 sacks. Jack Sawyer, 5 tackles overall, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sacks. So like I said, from top to bottom, inside and out, coaching staff to the players, dominating performance, impressive performance. Now we'll see if they can carry it on the road to Pasadena, because playing at home in the cold weather is about, 20 degrees, I think, by the time this one finished up in Columbus. Huge advantage for the Buckeyes, just like it was for Penn State as they beat SMU. SMU, Dallas, Texas, not used to playing in cold weather, got their asses kicked by the Nittany Lions. Same here, Tennessee, you could see they were affected by the weather, got their asses kicked by Ohio State. So first round of these playoffs, the home teams all won and advanced on. Now you play neutral site bowl games, and the Buckeyes are in the Rose Bowl against Oregon. And hey, you've got to feel good about their chances, right? Only lost by 1 point on the road at Oregon earlier this year. Momentum coming in from this big win over Tennessee. Will Howard's got to be confident with what he did against the Volunteers out of the SEC, right? So I love what I saw out of the Buckeyes today. I will give the Volunteer fans kudos. They showed up. They were heard before the game, during the game, not so much after the game. But, they showed up when their football team did not. They felt today, the fans from Tennessee who paid anywhere from $150 to $1,000 for their tickets and a 5-hour ride from Tennessee or wherever y'all came from, they felt like the Buckeyes fans felt after the Michigan game. That's how empty of a feeling it has to be for Tennessee Volunteer fans today. But hey, you were loud. You showed up when your team did not. You were there in the stadium. It didn't look like your team was in the stadium as the Buckeyes, like I said, opened up a can of whoop ass on them. And now they get to play another game. And 1 down, 3 more to go, right? Embarrassing loss to Michigan. Didn't win the Big Ten, but the ultimate goal is still there for Ohio State, and that's winning the national championship. And maybe this will put a different perspective on the greatest rivalry in college football. You don't necessarily have to win that game to win a national championship. I don't know how that sits with old school Buckeye fans, but that's the way it is these days. So the Buckeyes maybe use that as fuel after getting embarrassed at home, the flag planting and all of that. And they came out and they dominated from the get-go today. Now let's take it on the road and do it for a second game in the playoffs, and then a third game, and then you get to the championship. That would be 4 wins to win a national championship for Ohio State. 1 down, 3 more to go. Great win by Ohio State. Really nothing negative to say about the game today except the field goal, which had no chance. But anyways, that's the only thing that went wrong for the Buckeyes today in this 42-17 win over Tennessee.